Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 205 of the Mighty Whites podcast. I'm Jack, as always, joined by Casey.
Now then,
Hopefully, my awakeness level will increase as this goes on because I am very much a bit out of it. Um, it's been a bit of a weird one, like another bad result, everyone's down. Then, even though it's not relevant to us at all, a very funny thing happens on the Sunday, cheers us all up a little bit. But like you do look at the season and think, to get out of this, we're going to need to give 110%. But what I meant by that was the players rather than the fans. See? Yeah, because season tickets have gone up by 10%, and we will deal with that in a sec. But we'll get the Chelsea game out of the way first. It's been long enough now that we've sort of all. I mean, no one was angry, were they, really, I suppose? Like, what we got beat 1-0. What did you think of the performance overall?
um, probably similar to Southampton in the sense of I thought we looked relatively solid. I know Chelsea probably had the better of it for the first 25 minutes, half hour, but I didn't. I thought we looked a lot better than we have done. Still not conceding particularly big chances or certainly doing stupid things, but like Kepa never really had to do a whole lot. For just after the glut of chances we had against Fulham, it was kind of back to the Southampton where it was a bit more. The chances we did have were sort of there's one or two good chances and then a lot of half chances.
Yeah, when I was actually watching the game, I was sort of quite okay with it because I was thinking, well, look at this squad that Chelsea have got. It's a really good side, and we're in the game, and we were in it. Like after, not for half an hour. You're right. Like for half an hour. I mean, Felix at the bar, Meslier made that really good save 1-on-1 from Havertz, and Ben Chilwell missed a really big chance as well. So there could have been two or three nil up early on. But once that half hour went by, we got into the game, and you thought, oh, there's something in this for us. But other than Melier's header in stoppage time, did we have a chance?
Ugh. Like there's not a lot to take from it. Very, it's kind of similar to in terms of the outcome. It's similar to the Spurs game in as much as going in, we should probably lose to teams like that because of the quality of players they have. But once you've watched that game, God, you'd love to have another crack at it because
Yeah.
once that initial spell for them was over, they didn't look up to much.
No, they did seem. Part of it was that we got better, but they did seem to get poorer as the game went on. I can see they didn't look to have any confidence or anything, did they, with the way that they were playing, especially given the talent on display. The one thing that did obviously annoy me was the goal itself. If Felix rattles that one in the first half, I'm not really worrying about it. But the goal, just simple corner in for Farner heads it in. He's not challenged particularly well. And they had that exact chance in the exact same way in the first half. And, we've said before, Leeds don't learn lessons.
No.
It was a very soft goal to give away. Like Chelsea were overall definitely the balance of play. Chelsea definitely deserved to win the game, but it really did feel like a missed opportunity. And I do wonder, just when we were looking at the game, like I know Rutter was not having a good game, but taking him off and bringing on Nonto, Matteo Joseph for Aronson, Sam Greenwood for Jack Harrison, those aren't exactly subs that are really going to change anything. And I know we've got a load of players missing, especially in forward areas. But I thought we could have gone for it a little bit more with the subs.
Yeah, I mean, once Bamford's out, and you've only got sort of one first team striker. Even if he's not having a good day, you kind of think at that point, well, we kind of need to leave him on just like on the off chance that something falls his way, because at the moment you don't really have a lot of faith in anyone. To be fair, to put the ball up, apart from Junior Firpo, obviously, but
best left back in the world.
Yeah, yeah. When you've gone through and look, I can't be critical of Javi Garcia just yet for any of this. It's if
Am I tired, or did you just do it again?
Sorry, I did it again. Sorry, Javi Garcia. It just happens, doesn't it? It's just there.
Yeah.
But already with 3 games in now, and you kind of look at the substitutions a little bit and think that they're quite interesting choices at times. Is substitutions, and we've gone from conceding numerous big chances in games to kind of shutting that down. And I know Chelsea had chances in this game, but that team and that starting lineup probably should against 17th, 18th in the league. But yeah, you just kind of think at that point, just leave your striker on,
get Nonto with him and have a go.
Yeah. As much as I'm all for the problem is when you want to talk about player pathways and stuff like that is that relegation battles aren't designed for it. I'm glad Mateo Joseph is somewhere near the first team, but do I want to be relying on him and Sonny Perkins to get late goals in games? Not really. I'm, obviously very thankful that Sonny Perkins did in that Cardiff game, but you weren't there thinking, oh, it's all right, Sonny Perkins will save us.
Yeah, I suppose the counter argument to my thing of you 1-0 down, have a go, is there are like 5 really shit teams at the minute.
And God, we're one of them.
And we are very much one of them, but it might be that it comes down to goal difference. So that is the counter argument of not having a goal. We stick Nonto up with Rutter, you take off McKennie, and maybe play Aronson deeper and just like really go attacking with it. And if you end up getting beat 3-0, it can be. I mean, that's one of the things with it at the minute. There's been a little bit of debate about it on Twitter because we do look a lot more solid. But we're not creating nearly as much. I would bet sort of the difference in XG is the same. It's just lower numbers both ways now. And then you just wonder which. I suppose then it's just a style preference, isn't it? Which do you think has more chance of getting you enough points? Nicking a 1-0 where both teams have like less than 1 XG, or nicking a 3-2 when both teams have 1.5, 2.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably going to say this a lot till between now and the end of the season, but my God, I wish we hadn't sent Joe Gelhardt out on loan.
Yeah,
that's the problem again. We're going to back Jesse, and we're going to let him make his decisions, and then as soon as the transfer window closes, oh, we've made a mistake. And you're like, no, why?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, look, I would love to say, like, they're devil's advocate. They thought, well, Rodrigo and Bamford and Rutter. And in principle, yeah, you're fine to loan out Joe Gelhardt then. I can understand them not seeing the Rodrigo one coming in the same way. But like Bamford, you've got to expect him to get injured at this point. Hopefully he's back this weekend. It sounds like he might be. But yeah, I must admit, when I'm watching the players out on loan, and the one that's making me think, oh, I wish we had him back, is Yelder. He's earning absolutely rave reviews.
Set to win a Player of the Year, I imagine it at Rotherham.
Yeah, and Drama's probably going to win it at Luton as well.
Yeah, like I said, I will say it over and over again with Gelhardt. I do think it's obviously the double-edged sword, because we were bemoaning him not getting game time before he went out on loan that he absolutely needed. And he still wouldn't be starting any of these games. But when you're there, and again, You've lost Bamford. There's no Rodrigo, and your one first team striker is not having a particularly good game. I don't want to rely on Mateo Joseph. I like Mateo Joseph,
but he's not there yet.
No, and again, I don't like you say.
I think he had that other shot on target, didn't he? I think we did have another one.
It was the toe poke pretty much straight at Kepa.
Yeah. I'd forgotten about that one actually until just then, but yeah, we did have another one, didn't we? And that was it.
Again, we're talking about looking at the Chelsea team and stuff like that. Chelsea had 13 shots, we had 11, and between the two teams, there was 5 shots on target.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a game. I mean, I would say their chances were much better ones than ours. Like they probably should. I don't know what the XG was. I didn't look, but I think they'll have won it fairly comfortably. They had been playing a back four going into it, and instead they went to a back three, which is more like what you'd expect from Potter, really, overall. And I did think that for half an hour, we didn't deal with it at all. Like they had 3 against Rutter by himself, and yeah, he didn't have a great game. When he did get the ball, he gave it away way too much. But him on his own versus Fofana, Koulibaly, Badiashile, like he's not likely to get much out of that. And then Ruben Loftus-Cheek playing right wing back stood on the touchline, and Ben Chilwell stood on the other touchline. And God, the amount of space Ben Chilwell had for that first half. I mean, he had it all game, but the first half hour in particular, it was. I mean, I was terrified about it. I think I put on Twitter straight away, oh God, I'm very scared of the amount of room Ben Chilwell's getting. And then he nearly scored. And should have. He could have had. If he'd have had one of his good days, he might have had 2 himself and set up 2.
Yeah, I feel like early on, I'd have been very tempted to kind of have a little shift around and maybe move Aronson as a second striker and have McKennie go out right or something like that, just to, because I don't think McKennie would work as a second. I know he's sort of working all right as the 8.5, but yeah, once you see they're playing with the back three and playing with a lot of width, you can give up that extra man in midfield that you can either push him on and sort of fill that space, or I don't know what else you do really.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see, because for me, with the players on the pitch, it's quite difficult. I suppose what you would have to do is tuck Ayling in. If you were going to go to a free yourself, tuck Ayling inside, and on that pitch, it'd be McKennie goes and plays right wing back.
Which I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind saying that, to be honest. I certainly think he's got the legs for it. But gets him away from the final third.
I suppose then you're going 2v2 in midfield, and it's Adams and Aronson against Enzo Fernandez and Kovacic, and I can't see that 2v2 going well for us. So I think that the talent differential are probably done for us anyway. But we'll see what happens. We did stay in the game, and as much as we were second best, if Melier scores that header at the end, we're gushing about this performance. Because it just becomes a brilliant result, and we stayed in it and battled, and we nicked an equaliser. The home games are going to be massive going forward. And if you want to,
I was going to say, what did you make to Nonto being on the bench for this one? Because that was probably the biggest decision.
I didn't expect it. Like that would definitely be a stretch, but I'm not shocked that he's dropped him at some point. He's played a lot of football,
and he's been heavily relied upon for a couple of months.
Yeah, I don't think it's the worst thing. I don't think it was I was going to say I don't think it was the difference, but he would have been playing instead of Jack Harrison, and Jack Harrison did have a shocker. Again, he needs, I'll be polite, a rest.
Yeah. I mean, again, very interesting listening to the Phil Hay show, and you kind of hear them discussing, the fact that on deadline day he was there in Leicester, that the club you are playing for was fully willing to sell you, at least for a period of time, and there's no way that can't affect you to some degree.
Yeah. And by the way, I've just looked at the levels, and the sound levels are looking funny. Is it sounding all right to you?
I can hear you fine.
All right, cool. I'll leave it then because the sound levels look a bit weird. Yeah, I think that it was a bit of a disappointment, but somehow we're still not in the bottom three.
Yes, thank you, Forest, for not dropping your fairly good home record on Sunday.
Yeah, Forest 2, Everton 2 was a good result, and of course Arsenal coming back to win it in the 97th minute.
Yeah, good lads, Arsenal. Well done.
Yeah,
Ben White.
Good time to get your first goal.
Yep. I'd fair play to him because he waited that long to score for us, and it was an absolute screamer. He's waited a fair while for his Arsenal goal and a big equaliser.
Yeah. Well, we're struggling for goals and we've got some players missing. And based on the under-21s, it might have to be Sonny Perkins that gets thrown in. The won 3-0 against Derby on Monday. Sam Greenwood, Joe Snowden, Sonny Perkins with the goals, and Sonny Perkins set up for 2 he didn't score. I say set up, like the assist for Joe Snowden isn't really an assist. He smacks it in from distance. It's not but it was a good one to set up Greenwood. Archie Gray played 45 minutes. He played the whole second half, which will help. Obviously, it is dreaming to think, oh, that's going to be the thing that solves us problems. But it is nice to see him back. And I suppose probably the main thing based on, well, I mean, Joe Donoghue I think that his opinions are pretty good. He tends to be about right when he's talking about a game. And he was very effusive in his praise for Darko Jaby's full 90 minutes. He did say, caveat, Derby's under-21s are shit. But that's the best midfield performance I've seen all season in a Leeds shirt. Apparently, it was all over the place, and you do wonder, given some of the games we are and the way that we're struggling to progress the ball through, and he doesn't seem to fancy Mark Locker. You do wonder if JB might end up getting a run.
At what point do we go Adams, JB, Gray? That's what you're telling me.
No, I was just thinking JB and Gray. Let's fuck them all off. Play the kids.
No, I don't see JB getting a lot of game time still. To be honest with you, I think we're probably going to be fairly set on this midfield three of McKennie, Adams, and
usually Aronson.
Another depending on the system. Another that isn't Mark Rocker. But we need someone who can pass the ball forward. Just a nice 7-yard straight line pass, 20 yards out.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we do. It's not just for central midfield for that at the minute. That was one of the things in the last few games. Some of the passing has been really poor. Even in like the Fulham game where we played quite well. God, there's been some stinking passing.
Yeah.
But the 21's winning 3-0. They're 3 points clear at the top of Premier League 2. And I believe with the fixtures left, we don't play anyone who's good.
Oh, that's all
so
right.
we still might find a way. I believe that I'm not sure if it's the next game. I think we're at home to Sunderland on Sunday the 19th, which is at Ellen Road, and it's free for season ticket holders and stuff. I'm unfortunately working, but it should be decent. And we play again on Monday away at West Brom. So there's a decent chance of them getting back into the top division. But will Leeds stay in the top division? And if they do, it'll cost you 10%. It'll cost you 10% more to go watch them next season.
Yeah, good to know you're paying more and more each year to see a relegation battle.
Yeah, well, what would that put us on? 8 home wins in 2 years, and in that time the tickets will have gone up 21%.
Yeah.
As much as I think it's never nice when they go up. I'm not at all surprised by it. You've got 20,000 on a waiting list. Business-wise, why wouldn't you put the tickets up by 10%?
Yeah, it's I think you kind of got to disassociate your personal feelings towards it and just think of it as a purely business motivated decision. yeah, we've got loads of people who are willing to pay money, and we are clearly still at a point where we are reliant on that season ticket income to some extent. I think unfortunately when you get to the top six, when you look at your Man City, Arsenal, Fulham, they're not reliant on that sort of thing.
Fulham's ticket prices are amazing.
Well, man, but yeah, I'm sure as well. If you ask the question, the justification will be, well, it was also frozen for a few years as
Forever.
well, and yeah, so it is frustrating, but I understand why they've done it.
Yeah, I mean they were frozen for ages though because Ken Bates had us paying like what the sixth most expensive season ticket in the country when we were 15th in the championship.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they had to have them frozen for quite a long time.
could have been worse. We could have been Spurs.
No, I mean
They had like the second most expensive, and what were they getting? Naff all. The Audi Cup.
Yeah, you really wish that it was about more than money, and you could just say, "No, we think this is a fair price for season tickets, so we're going to keep them." But that's just not the world. I mean, as much as I am complaining about it, I renewed straight away. Like it's not, and
You didn't want to make them sweat on it.
no, I did it straight. Well, no, I actually didn't want to make. I just wanted to make sure that I knew where I was money wise. Is the real reason.
It's
But
it's one of those things where it's very interesting, and I know there's obviously kind of renewed talks around Ellen Road redevelopment and kind of
that's the thing that needs to happen. It's going to be a bit shit until that happens.
but unfortunately, we've kind of also put ourselves in a position where that's sort of it's Schrodinger's two-tiered West Stand at the moment. It's while we're as shit as we are, it both exists and doesn't exist because I know we have this massive waiting list, but if we do drop out of the Premier League, it'd be interesting to see what effect that has. The next season if we don't go up, or 3 seasons after that, and then how much of that falls away or how sustained this is. It's very easy to put your name down on a list for 20 quid a year, which I still think is ridiculous. But
yeah, paying to be on a waiting list. Yeah, I think it's naughty. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah, but again, there's people who will do it, and the hope is realistically you want as many of those people in your stadium as possible because they're as best I can tell, there are 20,000 extra people who are willing to waive their checkbook and go, how much do you want?
Yeah, and that's why even if we go down, I don't expect. It should be said, if we go down, you get the 10% back. It'll be in a club voucher thing or something, so you'll get to go watch us get knocked out early in the Carabao Cup next season for free. But sorry, getting distracted by a cat there. I think that the uptake, even if we go, obviously the renewal deadline's like early April, so we'll know before then. But I reckon it'll be like it was last time. It'll be like 97, 98% renewal rate. Because the one thing with this massive waiting list is, even if you do get up, you know what? I am going to give it up. You know that you might never get it back.
Yeah, that's it. Like you almost sort of hold on to it as it's almost a commodity at this point.
Well, I've said to you before, because I happened to buy these tickets at the right time. It was the summer Bielsa came in for these ones in particular. I did have one before that, but in the Cop instead of where I've got them now. Because I came in at the right time and they were a really good deal. I'm never giving these up. If it came to the situation where I have these 2 season tickets and nobody else can go except me, I'm still probably going to be renewing them both
I
because
mean,
it's
you know,
just it's just worth my time. Because between mates and family, someone will want to go every week, and
yeah, and if worse comes to worse, there is the fan exchange now as well.
yeah,
Like you do have these options, which football has sort of moved itself into. Oh, the early 20th century.
yeah,
Um, so that it is great, and I know there'll always be people moan when we don't entirely sell out during League Cup games and stuff like that. Now, as it goes this season, and last season, we've done really well for cup attendances.
yeah,
When we played the Crew last year, it was packed,
yeah.
and that certainly wasn't the case in 6 years before that.
No, well, I don't know if you listened to it, but the Square Ball just released another one of their guide to us, and it was John Carver at Leeds, and they get on about the attendances of his games, and it's like a
Was it was it
league game.
was it the Barnet game in like the League Cup and stuff like
Yeah,
that? And
well, that was the game where Blackwell got sacked, didn't he? I think we won, and
oh
then they
god,
sacked
yeah.
him. But the because we were at that game, that's why I remember. I believe Ian Moore scored for us. Um, sorry, Ian Thomas Moore. I don't want to.
I think we might have played against Trezo Candle.
Yeah, but no. What I was going to say is, I think that in there was a league game with like 16,500, which it feels like a different club, doesn't it? That
It just, I mean, it was an awful start to that season as well. But I'm just having a look. He got sacked. He got sacked after Coventry. Yeah, we beat Birmingham at home in his first game 3-2, and there was 18,000 there.
yeah, and I think it got
It
lower
was
for a couple of them.
it was I think it's either his last game or Dennis Wise's first game. We lose 2-1 to Leicester, 16,500.
Yeah, that's. I mean, the only thing about that was you could always get a ticket, but God, it felt like the club was completely on its ass. I never want us to be back there again. This may be annoying, but it's a lot better.
It's quite funny actually looking at this, and I know kind of if you read especially a lot of the history is that Leeds United support is quite fickle throughout
Yeah, Matt,
history.
in terms of the numbers, you can't argue that.
Like we're
I
talking
didn't
there.
realise how much until that 100 Years of Leeds United book came
Yeah,
out.
we're talking there about 16 and a half to 18,500, and that's kind of a number we sort of fluctuate around, and sometimes goes up, sometimes. So you get games around the 20,000 mark and stuff like that. Then we played QPR at home, and there is 29,500, and
Yeah,
then sort
maybe
of
they had one of them ticket deals on for that one. Maybe.
the rest of the season is kind of, apart from when we beat Preston at home, which was back to 18,000. Like we played Plymouth at home and had 30,000, Luton at home 27,000, and then last home game of the season, the draw with Ipswich that sort of confirmed us going down was 31,000.
Yeah,
And
and
I don't know if,
but
and I don't know if it's just because it's kind of the
well,
inverse of a.
The Ipswich one is the we need the fans. We're going to get relegated.
But it's almost like gaining popularity when you in the run into the playoffs or promotion or stuff like that. But it's like I kind of have to be there to see us get relegated.
Yeah, they need me, so I'm going. Yeah, that's what I've always said. It's very weird. Like my brother never gave a shit about football his whole life, and it was in League One where he started to actually care about Leeds and
Yeah.
actually kind of got into supporting us a bit. It was a bit weird. But hopefully we don't end up back down there. But if we do, at least the first season we'll still have big crowds. We'll see what happens if we don't come straight back up. But a big game again. They're all big games now. Saturday, 3 o'clock, Brighton.
In the
I
words of Bending Rodriguez, well, we're boned.
I'll be honest, mate. When you started that sentence in the words of Bender, I thought that you were going to make some horrific joke out of nowhere. But no, it's a future reference. That's fine.
Bite my daffodil.
I
Oh,
think
God,
that this.
Brighton are good.
I want to make clear that I think this is completely fair, but it's a sad state of affairs when Brighton are odds on to win at Ellen Road.
Yeah, I think the bookies have got that one right.
Oh yeah, I think it's completely reasonable, but it's a sad state of affairs when that's the truth. I make no bones about it. When like I'm say able to watch a game while I'm working on a Saturday, Leeds aren't playing Saturday 3 o'clock, and there's 5, 6 games on. If Brighton are one of them, that tends to be the match I watch. I think Brighton are really good to watch. They've got a load of very likable, very good players. They pass the ball well, everything. I just think that they are probably the most interesting team in the Premier League. They're probably the best run. And we really need them to have an off day because I think if they're on it, I don't see us getting near them if they're on it.
No, I've just made the mistake of looking at their stats from the weekend, and I know West Ham seem to have just collapsed in the second
Yeah,
half.
but they were awful in that second half. By all accounts, like it was a public apology from the players' level performance.
But I'm just looking like it was 90% pass accuracy, 20 shots, 9 on target for Brighton. But they were just clinical, which has been one of the sort of bigger problems for them over the last few years.
And that is still a bit, to be fair. I mean, I know that they were in that game, but they're still not clinical.
I don't know, man. Danny Welbeck, he's
Yeah. Screw Danny Welbeck, that young Irish lad, Evan Ferguson, that's come through.
yeah, he looks quite
Like,
good.
he looks really good. I don't know, like he isn't going to be fully consistent yet, but he's only 18. He's big. He's fairly quick, athletic, holds the ball up well, and seems to finish well.
He's only 18,
I'm
but his
scared of
mind
a
is
lot of them.
older.
They have been playing. They have gone back to they've switched to a 4 at the back for the last few games in the same way Chelsea did. But I think that Zerbi will watch how that opening half hour went, and I think he might go to the back 3 again and stick. I mean, it depends how aggressive he wants to be, I suppose. Like, if he plays a back 3 of like Veltman, Webster, and Dunk, maybe play Estupinan left back and just play Sully March as right wing back, who's basically playing as a winger. Or we can play March further forward and play Lamptey.
Yeah.
Caicedo will be main man in midfield. They've usually played Gross alongside him, but you could go Caicedo and McAllister if you wanted to play more attacking options, and McAllister probably can get away with playing from deeper against us.
Yeah, you know how you always want to have a really well run club that you know if it sells one of its best players isn't really going to be greatly affected by it because they've already got a good, they've got good other players in there that can just step straight in.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they sold Leandro Trossard,
yeah,
who is a very good player, it's just it's like who's next?
Yeah, I mean Trossard had played a lot of roles. He played as a wing back. He played as the striker. He played as the 10. But you'd probably say like his main position for him overall over the years was left wing. Cal Rumatoma's probably been their best player this season.
Yeah,
and the thought of him, it's not. This isn't even really a knock on on the players we've had at right back, although they're not in any way perfect. Kaoru Mitoma running at anyone scares me, and he's just they always seem to be in the right positions. You can tell that they have had. They were a really well coached team, and then De Zerbi took them over, and he's a really good coach as well. They don't seem to do stupid things. Other than once every so often, they'll pass it around at the back a bit too much and screw it up. And they have got even more aggressive at that now because they have dropped Robert Sanchez for Jason Steele because De Zerbi thinks that Steele's better with his feet. And I still keep nearly calling him Luke Steele every time I think about him. Who must be about 40 now.
It's probably retired. You'd hope. Anyway.
He is joint manager of Peterborough Sports, and he is 38.
On a similar note, I've just seen that Danny Dichio is coaching with Sacramento Republic.
Nice.
Just updates no one needed.
Yeah. But it's a squad full of really good players. Obviously, Caicedo in midfield. He has now signed his new contract, which doesn't mean he's staying. It just means that if someone's buying him, they're paying 90 odd million.
Looks really good though.
Pascal Gross can play literally everywhere, and he seems to do really well in all of them, and has played well against us pretty much every time he's faced us. Pervis Estupiñán is the left back we probably should have bought. When we had Bielsa, that would have worked. Although he isn't starting every week now, like he was at the start of the season. Every time I watch Danny Welbeck, I'm shocked by how good he still is. Dunk, Webster, Veltman as a back three, or with Veltman at right back is really good. Levi Colwill that they've got on loan, he's on loan from Chelsea, isn't he? He's meant to be brilliant and isn't even playing much.
I was going to say they've got Billy Gilmore in the squad, but you wouldn't really know.
No, he is there. He is there, but he isn't playing. I mean, even that Jan Paul van Heck, the young centre back, he's meant to be good as well. And then they've started giving some game time to Jeremy Sarmiento, who looks really talented. He played for Ecuador in the World Cup. They paid a bit of money for that Julio Enciso, the other young forward. He came on and smashed the bar. It was like his first touch from 40 odd yards out. And they've signed Facundo Buonanotte, who I don't know anything about except he's young and Argentinian. And Brighton bought him, so he's probably really good.
Thoroughly scouted.
I mean, I just think that they're really well coached. They're a really good side, and they're pretty likable. I don't really have a bad to say about Brighton. I'm just hoping we play well and they don't, because for all the praise I'm giving them, they're not so amazing that we can't win this game. This is one of our more winnable games between now and the end of the season. It's in the top half of winnable games.
Yeah.
As much as I think we're going to lose this, we can't afford to lose this.
We will find a way.
Are you a bit more confident than me?
No. And I'm the confident one.
Yeah, I was really hoping that you were
anyway,
I was really hoping you were going to tell me that I am really overly egging Brighton's squad here.
I mean, look, you look through that list of players, and there's no one you go like, he's a superstar, but they're all just so good at their role.
Yeah, what's the closest they've got is probably McAllister, isn't it?
Yeah, World Cup winner.
He's really good.
I keep forgetting Brighton have a World Cup winner.
Yeah,
what a world we live in.
Yeah, and he's not like the third choice goalkeeper or something. Played in midfield for him, right?
But nah, I honestly can't see us doing too well in this. But don't worry, we've got some competitive fixtures coming up afterwards. We've got Arsenal in a couple of weeks, so that'll be fine.
Well, what have we got? Well, we've got Wolves away next Saturday at 3, haven't we?
Yeah, and then it's the international break.
That's enormous.
The one good thing is, I would hope that we can do something with that international break. In as much as we really wanted Jesse to do something with the World Cup break.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I kind of more wanted the board to do something in that break.
Yeah, but if he'd have had that time and done something with that team and got them playing a bit, you'd go, all right, fine.
Yeah.
And I really hope Gracia can do something with them in that time and just, actually get an extended run with them where they don't have a game for 2 weeks and just settle them into his style a little bit more. But
I'm very scared of their right hand side against our left. Whether it's doing it with a back three, like wing back pushing right on, whether that's March or someone else, and then March ahead of them, or just if I play 4-2-3-1 and go Veltman and March. Veltman and March versus probably Nonto and Firpo. Solly March should not be a player I'm scared of, but every game I watch him, he plays really well. So yeah, I just don't know really what to think and how we're gonna get some. I think the only way we're gonna get something out of this game is the same way.
Literally doing a podcast.
Hi Sheila, how you doing? Yeah,
You brought that, not me.
As KC, you're unmuted, by the way.
I know. I'm stunned. Stunned is what's happened there.
Stunned into the opposite of silence.
Yeah.
Do you think the only way we get a result out of this is a bit like the last couple of draws we've had against them, the 0-0 and the 1-1 where Strout scored in the last minute, where we sort of have to shithouse it a bit?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I've got enough confidence in our defense to do that, because again, I don't think you're playing against such high quality players that I think they'll tear us apart. I think if you manage the game well enough, I back us to not give up too many big chances. But these last couple of league games, you just wonder where we're going to get chances from.
Yeah,
because they are a very well organized defense, and at the moment, between his sub appearance and the Fulham game, it still isn't quite enough for me to be thinking, yeah, if we go into that game with Rutter up front on his own, he'll cause them problems. But, we're not there yet.
Yeah, there was talk about Bamford and Rodrigo being potentially closer to fitness, but even if they were to make this game, you can't see either of them being fit enough to start, really. So I think it will be Rutter. I think I would probably Nonto for Harrison and Rocker for Aronson, and let McKennie play that sort of eight as the most advanced of the three midfielders. And then, depending on how Brighton set up, you can move things around a little bit. Like if, for instance, they go to a back three in that situation, you can put McKennie on the right and Somerville over to the left, which isn't ideal, but then you can put Nonto up with Rutter. If they play a three, you go two against them.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll be able to press it a bit more. If they play with a four, their midfield three is going to be very good, so you can drop McKennie in and have a midfield three to go against them.
Yeah. I think certainly if there's no Bamford, I think you need someone playing higher up, closer to Rutter, and I think for me, realistically, it probably has to be Aronson. Just in terms of the pressing more than anything else. Like as much as
I will say, I'm not sure we'll press them at all at the back, because I think that if we do, they'll just pass it round us.
I don't even mean instantly, but I think you need someone who's going to do. I think you need two players who can do it effectively from a central area.
Yeah.
So even if it's a case of sort of retreating to towards the halfway line, going for that mid block. Defensively, Nonto can be a bit lazy.
The effort's there, but he switches off, doesn't he?
Yeah.
There's been a number of times where you see his man set off running and he just looks behind him. Oh, he's 7 yards back.
He's gone. So yeah, it probably needs a bit more defensive discipline in there. And I think Aronson is the best option of those, unless if you going for that mid block, then you have faith in McKennie to do it and dropping it a bit more. I don't know. I don't think it's going to matter.
Well, I don't think it's going to matter brings us nicely to a prediction. Neither of us got us bets last week. I did get a couple of points because I had Chelsea winning. Um, I can't look at their team and be confident. I just can't. I've got 2-0 Brighton.
I'm going to go 1-0 Brighton.
Oh God. Well, I'm quite happy with that because we're idiots, and therefore us both predicting a loss might be a really good thing. However, for my bet, I'm going to go mega out there and confident. With Somerville first goal, Leeds 2-1, which is a nice round 100-1.
Let's have a look here. I'm going to be more pessimistic, and I'm pretty sure I went for the same bet before for the Chelsea game. Well, different player, obviously, but Evan Ferguson to score before 1959.
Evan Ferguson, first 20 minutes. What price is it?
10-1.
I think that there is a very decent chance of you not losing on that because I think as much as he's been good, he doesn't start every game. You might end up just with a void there. Which will make you probably the winner of that week by default. And as we know, those are the two best words in the English language. Default. Yeah, we just mentioned that next weekend is Wolves away, both Saturday 3:00. How many points do you think we need from these two?
We need to beat one of them. Yeah. You absolutely have to. I know there's 6 points between bottom and 12th, but there is also 1 point between us and bottom.
That is the daft thing with this league. If we did just, I don't think this is going to happen, but if we did just win those two games, it's just totally different. It's a different season all of a sudden.
You've just putting bodies in between you at least, and it's like I said before, we've got to beat. You've got to at least beat the teams around you. And it's why I really wish the Wolves game was at home, because I think away they probably are a beatable team. At home they're looking a bit better, and Lopetegui's been doing quite a good job there. I'll say that just before we end up going into a full blown preview of a game that's 2 weeks from now. But
I mean, and the thing is that we need to start picking up the points soon because, as you've mentioned before, 3 of us last 4: Man City away, Newcastle at home, Spurs at home. Like, we're going to go into a hard run of fixtures at the end. If we're going to be out of this, we need to be out of it with time to spare.
Yeah, I mean, if you win these next 2 games, you give yourself a bit of breathing room then, and at least then you can go and lose to Arsenal because they're really good.
And going into an international break on a high like that could be huge. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we have to get a minimum of 3 points from these 2 games. But I'm looking at it and I think my thought was I think we're going to get 1. Because I think we'll get beat by Brighton because they're just better than us. And I think us and Wolves are a similar level. I think both teams will be a bit negative about it because they won't want to lose. And I think it'll end up a draw. But God, I want to be wrong. I really want us to. If we picked up 4, that'd be. Well, I suppose it's another one of them where it's the weird way around. If you beat Brighton and then you draw with Wolves, you're looking at it as a missed opportunity.
Yeah, like you say, the league table's just a weird thing at this point. Winning we're potentially 15th, and you put a couple of teams in between you, and then all of a sudden we're chasing Brighton for Europe. And
I'll tell you what, that won't happen. Because I just want to say, for how negative we are and everything, and how I've had us 18th for quite a while at this point. We are still, with the bookies, we are 5th favourites to go down.
I mean, looking at the teams, and this will be the kiss of death that gets replayed by you when we've gone down. But like, I look at Bournemouth, and I just think it's not a great team. Southampton, they've got a couple of wins, but again, they're prone to just being torn apart and having a dreadful performance. Everton, I just don't know where the goals are going to come from.
Yeah, Calvert-Lewin is apparently back in training, but probably not fit for this weekend. Because I think that's what their season might come down to. If they can get him fit and he's fit for the rest of the season, they'll probably stay up. In the same way that if we could get a properly fit Patrick Bamford for half a season,
if we got him and Rodrigo fully fit up front, I think we're fine. But
it's a big if. But yeah, that will do us for episode 205 of Mike White's podcast. I really hope that we're wrong about the upcoming weekend, but we'll see. If they start battering us, just try and enjoy that Brighton are good. It's not going to be easy to do so. It's not like when you play Man City and you just go, well, these are really good. Because it's Brighton. And Brighton aren't supposed to be this good. It's not part of the natural order, and you don't screw with the natural order. But yeah, I think that'll do us. So I've been Jax here.